Are you looking for an excuse to not show up? Or do you find yourself simply not showing up sometimes? Now, what I mean by showing up is not physically showing up, but more so being 100% into everything that you do every single day. In other words, bringing your A game into whatever it is that you do. That's part of what it's like to have high performance living. Hey, this is Wei, and you're here for another high performance breakthrough coaching tip on how to perform your best in both life and business. So this past weekend, I was at a speaking engagement, had an opportunity to present to a fairly large group, a presentation I've never actually done before. Here's a little snippet of what the introduction looked like.
Hola, hola, ¿cómo está todo? Ya, yo voy a ofrecer un montón de informaciones hoy para ustedes. ¿No puedes entender lo que yo quiero decir? ¿Sí? ¿Algunos? ¡Qué bien! Pero para los otros, tal vez no. OK， 那如果我用国语的话，有没有人听得懂吗？
听得懂。
听得懂，只有一个。
一个。
多分。はい、日本語。はい、そうです。はい。はい。Will you book a shower tomorrow? Speak English? Yeah. Right, perfect. How's everybody doing? Okay, so wasn't that a little bit confusing? I can imagine for some people it's like, what is he doing up there? And for me, it's like, it's not an unfamiliar concept either. I mean, for example, let me paint a scenario for you. I mean, how many have ever gone to a seminar or a workshop or an event such as this one? Get all excited, get crazy, go home. What? Someone was speaking to me? Charlotte, Jesse. You guys doing some nookie back there? Getting into my 12-minute time? Okay.
You'll get 30 more seconds.
All right, so 30 more seconds. Put it back on the clock. Okay. So how many of you have actually gone to these types of events? Get all excited, get revved up, say, I'm going to go out there and conquer the world, go home, the next day you wake up and go, how am I going to do this for my business? You know? It's kind of like a lost in translation type of scenario. Yeah. Right? You guys get that? So, how many of us in here know that if you can fully integrate everything that you've been learning thus far, not only from this event, but every other event that you take in your life, that your business will absolutely rock it? Yeah? Good. Welcome to my fast action system to fast track revenue. Yeah. First and foremost.
Cool. Welcome back. Now, as a speaker and workshop leader, one of the most important factors as to the success of any of my presentations or workshops is a lot of it relies on how much I actually show up. So the topic that we want to talk about today is how much you're actually showing up to everything that it is that you do in life, whether it be for work or relationship. The reason why I wanted to show you the snippet of the introduction was that introduction that you saw did not come to full fruition until like the 11th hour of that actual presentation. In other words, it didn't come to me until the middle of the night before, like a few hours before I woke up for that event that day. See, what happened, I had a whole totally different introduction planned, and right before I did my last run-through practice presentation the night before, an idea came to me and says, hey, why don't I incorporate language to kind of help create a different dynamic in the group when I do the presentation. I just didn't know how to connect it to the message I was trying to convey. And so I actually had abandoned the idea before going to bed. Now, here's where it gets interesting. after I went to bed thinking that I was going to do the introduction in a certain way, I was woken up in the middle of the night, about 2 or 3 a.m., to a pretty crazy family situation at home, which required me to be up for a good solid hour and a half, taking care of it in the middle of the night before the big day. The whole time I was taking care of it, I was thinking to myself, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this is happening right before this really important day that's coming up. This is going to totally screw up my day. I'm not sure. I mean, we've all have gone through that before, and we've all had an opportunity to think that way before. Well, guess what? That's what I was thinking. Even after the situation was done and I was lying in bed, trying to go back to sleep, I found myself starting to stress out, starting to spiral in a way that wasn't very anabolic. In fact, it was completely catabolic and wasn't very productive. I started thinking things like, okay, well, there goes my day tomorrow. Or I was also thinking about, there's my excuse for not showing up, or not being fully present, or not giving it my all the next day. And the interesting thing was, I knew that if I used as an excuse, nobody would blame me for it. Everybody would understand. In other words, it was the perfect excuse for not delivering how I was expected to, or what I expected myself to. Then, thinking about my purpose and what I do for a living and what I do to help people, I thought, I was like, hey, what am I doing? Okay, and this is a lesson for all of us, is that we are all fallible, we are all human. So I was thinking to myself, I said, this is not the way to be. This is not the way a high-performance breakthrough coach should be, right? And while I sat there and I laid there, I allowed myself to go through my process of meditation and kind of still the mind, disconnect myself for a moment just so I can have a little bit of clarity on the situation. And I thought to myself, I said, yeah, I could use this as an excuse. But you know what? I'm not going to. I know my stuff. I know what I'm going to say. And I'm just going to do it because I've been practicing, and there's no excuse. Whether or not I'm tired or not, whether or not I'm distracted, I'm good at what I do, and I'm going to do it. At that particular moment, in that moment of clarity, something happened. I got a moment of inspiration that helped me connect how I could use language to deliver my message in a more effective manner. And that's what you heard in the introduction, how I used it as a way to just demonstrate how things get lost in translation with what we learn to taking action, and that bridge, that translation that we all go through in terms of confusion, figuring out what it is that we want to do. As a result, I was able to integrate that new introduction at the 11th hour into my presentation, which resulted in the presentation becoming significantly more impactful. And the feedback was completely positive the next day. And as I also ended up showing up 100%. So the lesson to be learned is that there really are no excuses for not showing up, because most of the excuses that we create are from within. And we can create the most amazing excuses in the world that the entire world will accept, but the question is that doing yourself any justice as a high-performance liver, so to speak? So the question may then arise as, what is the solution for that then? How do I make sure that when that time comes, because we'll all encounter that sooner or later, our so-called gremlins will come up and say, see, there's your excuse, perfect, you're in the clear. You don't have to show up 100%. You could take the easy way out. What do we do to make sure that we can overcome that? Okay. We can't expect all of us to be perfect, to never have that situation. So to increase that level of self-awareness, here's the tip. And into how to integrate those moments from the mental flow of everything else. We all know when we get to, when we start coming up with excuses, you can hear those excuses start to come in. And those come in the form of you start blaming something, start blaming someone, you start getting into a not so positive thought process. The minute that starts happening, here's the tip to fix that, okay? Simply disconnect and interrupt that flow. In other words, it could be as simple as taking a deep breath. It could be simple as going into meditation. Maybe you could jump around for a little bit, maybe dance to a song. There's so many different ways, but what you want to make sure that you do is that interruption is a break from what your thinking process is at that particular moment. In other words, do something that is so far removed what it is that there's no possible mental connection that your mind can make. What that does, it allows your mind to interrupt the flow of the spiral that you're seeing yourself that's happening, and it allows you to come back at it with a little bit of clarity. And here's a little bonus that you'll get for doing that, which is the bonus that I got, which is your mind, the universe, or however you want to call it, will actually reward you for having that level of awareness come in to catch yourself. My reward, for example, was the fact that I was able to make that connection between using different languages to connect to making a more higher impact in terms of my message. Okay. Now, if you have trouble thinking of things at the moment, okay, what I recommend is that before you get into that state, make a list of all possible methods of disconnection that you can do, so that when the time comes, you can just pull up a list on your phone, on your computer, and just say, oh, I could do this. I could go read a book. Oh, I can go watch this TV show. For example, I have a client that likes to watch Family Guy whenever he feels like he's getting into a state of not so happiness, okay? And then basically he pulls out any random episode and just watches it, okay? It's different for everybody, so take the time. It's well worth it to make that list of possible disconnect tasks that'll help you remove yourself from a situation just so you can step away, receive the reward of being able to do so, and then coming back and continue, so that way you can continue performing at a high performing level. Okay, and that's your high performance breakthrough tip. As usual, if we are big in the concept of paying forward here at the Life Oasis, so if you got any value from the video today, I highly encourage you to share this video or subscribe to our YouTube channel, or do everything because that you can think of in terms of sharing, because of course, sharing is caring, right? So see you next time for another high performance coaching tip with me, Wei Hong.